Hey, good morning, everyone. I just want to take a minute to talk about this interesting divide between the media obsession with criticizing Baker Mayfield, and rightfully so. I mean, he played terrible this weekend, threw four picks. I mean, the fourth one's a little controversial, but the first three, I think there's blame to be had. Clearly, the Browns have a loaded roster, and he is the weak link. If you were to compare, you look at their offensive line. It's probably a top five group in the league. Running back, certainly a top three group. Offensive weapons, tight ends, and wide receivers, probably a tight top 10 group after Odell's departure. But they still have, deep threat, slot receiver, really good slot receiver, really good tight ends that can be possession receivers. Similarly on the defense, the back end's really solid. Of course, the down linemen, crazy quality. The linebackers are very decent as well. So I think there's an argument to be made that Baker Mayfield is maybe the one holding the team back, clearly, as he handles the ball every offensive snap. And he has left some throws on the table, made some bad decisions. Though I think the offensive coaching could be better as well. They clearly have one of the best running back tandems in the league with an offensive line that can dig a hole against anybody. So could they be helping Baker out more? But what's interesting to me is that, yes, Baker deserves criticism, and he gets that criticism, and maybe because he's done all these commercials, people really don't like him. I think there's a feeling about him that he hasn't earned his keep yet, and he's getting all this money. Clearly, there's jealousy. It's a male-dominated sport with a lot of egos and men who have succeeded so far before they get into the NFL. So we understand that part. Some of the comments that Baker has made, even some of his family members have made. And again, family members are fans, and fans have a right to any opinion. But still, when you are a family member as well as being a fan, I think sometimes that can really rub the media or other fans the wrong way. And I don't believe in telling anyone what kind of fan you need to be. I think that's the beauty of being a sports fan. But the thing that I keep coming back to, is Justin Herbert. They lost to the Texans this week in a game that he didn't play particularly well in. They have had many winnable games, many winnable moments, right? So like we could think back to the game against the Chiefs, fourth down a couple of times in the goal line, didn't really convert. Similarly, you think back to the game against the Patriots, you could have done better. The game against the Cowboys, I felt like they left a lot on the field. So Justin Herbert, is this big, sexy guy who makes a good throw. He can throw the ball deep. He has, sex appeal, I think, as a quarterback. And he also has, a big, strong arm. And God bless John Madden, but I think like the football world with Brett Favre, we're just obsessed with a strong arm throwing deep. And he's had some really good moments, and he's clearly a really good quarterback, arguably better skill, talent, potential than Baker Mayfield. But when I look at the Chargers record, it's 8-7. And last year, it wasn't particularly well. They didn't do particularly well either. So I think questions need to be asked, off Justin Herbert. I think they're 7-9 last year. So not a winning record, missed the playoffs. If he is really that darn good that people think he is, why is he not delivering the goods? And I think this is where, being an excellent, sexy thrower versus a winning quarterback, some of those intangibles, when maybe it's decision-making, making sure that, they're taking time off the clock in their drives. I think we are all just so obsessed in the media that we are ignoring. Like, he has had a terrible loss against the Texans. You look back to last year, there were certainly games that were winnable that they lost. So I don't necessarily think that they, have done justice to him being above reproach, if that makes sense. It's one of those things, and I understand that he was a number 6 pick in the draft. Baker Mayfield, I believe, was number 1 overall. And so that becomes with maybe slightly different expectation. Nobody thought Herbert would be this good, so maybe he has exceeded expectation. But I think it's time to really start questioning how good Herbert really is. He's definitely an excellent, sexy big ball thrower. They have all these big, tight ends and athletes converted to receiver who can go out and get the ball. He is definitely, so far, like, to me, is a better version of Jameis Winston. But I am wondering seriously as to why, if he is this darn good, how is he not in a position where Patrick Mahomes was in when his, and again, Mahomes kind of had a redshirt year, but the first season he really played, they won a bunch of games, went to the AFC Championship. And what I keep hearing from folks is the Herbert is that damn good. His team, again, if you look at their team, really good weapons on the offensive side of the ball, really good defensive line, really fairly strong secondary, a defensive coach. So this is kind of like that Peyton Manning model where you load up on the offense and then hire defensive-minded head coach who can have some schemes, some diamonds in the rough, and some really good defensive line play. Because, especially if you're a really good offense, you're scoring a bunch of points. You can scheme to make sure that, your defense is only giving up field goals or containing the other offense, making them spend more time on the clock. So maybe they do score a touchdown, but then they have to score another one and they don't have that much time. So they panic, make mistakes. So I think there's a fair question to be asked. Is it just purely that Baker Mayfield's personality and all these commercials have led to a bunch of jealousy against him? Is it because Herbert is, your traditional All-American, really tall guy with a big arm, long hair, California vibes, West Coast kid who's just, I think we see this in soccer all the time with a lot of hatred towards Ronaldo because he's probably an attractive-looking fellow compared to Messi. So I think there's something going on here that I'm not quite sure what it is, except for the fact that maybe Baker Mayfield is really pissed off a bunch of people in the media. And, Justin Herbert's kind of getting a pass. Because if he is really that good, he should be better than 8-7 this year. Should have probably done better than 7-9 last year. And certainly should be much closer in the conversation about the AFC playoff, the championship game. They changed the head coaches because last year, you remember the Chargers could not seal the deal. They won so many games. They were up big and lost in the end. So this year they have a different coaching staff, but similar results. So you have to ask the question of the quarterback as to why. Why is he not closing the deal? Why is he not putting teams away? Why is he not finishing? Why does he have every 3 or 4 games a terrible game against a terrible team? I think it's unfair to ignore some of this with Justin Herbert. I love Justin Herbert. I'll admit I'm a bigger fan of Justin Herbert than Baker Mayfield. But I do at least see, Baker Mayfield getting called out, people criticizing his bad play, where I think with Herbert, there seems to be some blinders on at this moment in time. And I think especially with Chargers fans, and I have the pleasure to know many Chargers fans, you do not want another 20 years of a Phillip Rivers-like situation where you're almost there but never there. So I think it's important to constructively criticize, question, see where this team is, the roster not coming through. Is it the coaching needs a little bit of changing on the defensive side of the ball so you can contain teams? Because your offense with Justin Herbert is going to score 28, but not maybe 28 when you need it. It's just 28 points, because that's the thing with football, right? There's situations. So you need to come through in situations. It seems like last year's Chargers really struggled with this, and this year's Chargers are still struggling with closing the deal, getting that first down when you need it, right? What's the old adage that, running teams, the best running teams are the ones that can get you the first down when the opposition knows that you're running the ball. Similarly, I think this offense, this scheme, there's some improvement. I think right now a lot of it's kind of like just jump ball. We have a big, tall, strong quarterback who can throw it fast and deep, and we have big, tall receivers who can just grab the ball. So maybe there's some more Austin, especially given some of the route running ability on the offense as well. And then, Eckler running the ball. And so maybe there's even more improvement needed in the offensive scheming of sides of things. But I think this is an interesting topic to me. I am surprised that no one's sort of starting questioning Justin Herbert. And I'm also kind of trying to understand why some people get a lot more scrutiny than others. Because clearly Herbert's in a bigger market. It's on the West Coast. He's the guy who went back to school before he came out. There was more questions about him coming out. So he's had the attention before, but somehow now everyone's sort of glossing over some of his shortfalls. Well, thank you for watching the video. Love to hear from you in the comments and look forward to more content.